Hello, my love, it's Rachel here. Hope you're having an amazing day. And I just recorded my video about the tarot decks for spring that I recommend. And now I'm going to share with you the oracle decks that I recommend for spring. 6 oracle decks. I shared 6 tarot decks and now 6 oracle decks because I want to keep it short, or as short as I can, right? And then I shared with you there how important art works for me when I work with the cards. Like, this is something that ignites something inside of me about creativity, about intuition, and so on. When it comes to tarot, we do have a specific system to read tarot, and I do use the system. For me, it's super important to understand, to learn the system, but I do use intuition as well. So that's why it's so important for me to have the option to reach to different decks for any specific class, any specific workshop, any specific session, reading, whatever. So for me, it's very important having different options. Even in tarot, where we have a system, but when it comes to oracle, because oracle decks, they don't have an universal system, right? Some authors, they go and they may create a system, but in general, we do have much more freedom when we work with oracles. So that's why I think that it's amazing to have different artwork and different kind of oracle decks. So I'd like to start then with this deck. And this deck is super important for me. She has a special spot inside of my heart because it is the first oracle deck I've ever had in my life. She's gorgeous. It is the Kuan Oracle. It is by Alana Fairchild. I think it's her first oracle deck. Let me see, I want to tell you the name of the artist because the art's beautiful. It is Zhang Hao. And this deck, I was walking around my local tarot store, and then I saw this image, like she was on a shelf. And I said, oh my God, what's that? I have to, no, I can't leave her behind. She's too beautiful. Then I saw there was Kuan. Kuan is my main goddess, the one that is always with me. And it's wonderful. This is the back. It's beautiful. It is the first edition. I bought it back then, 2015. And it's Blue Angel. It is a deck from 2012. Cardstock, fantastic. Look, 10 years. I have this girl for 10 years. It's amazing. So, do you want to know how I feel her? Do you know when you went through winter, and maybe it was all covered in snow? Maybe you didn't have sun enough. You're not feeling, you're not full of energy, you know? You may even feel isolated after winter. And then after that season, you know, when spring knocks at the door, you look outside and you see a little bit of sun showing up. And you see and you feel that warmer breeze touching your face. And something comes and just whispers at you and says, it's starting all over again. You are going to have another chance. That's how I feel this deck. So it's full of love. The guidebook is great. Not as massive as Isis Oracle or even the Wild Kuan, no. But it was challenging for me because I was just starting. It was my first Oracle deck. But she's gorgeous. She's more poetic. It's a very poetic deck. But she's all about love. This deck, this specific deck, the nature of this deck is all about love, all about compassion, all about allowing yourself to heal, to accept yourself just the way you are, And of course, when you do that, when we are able to do that for ourselves, then we are prepared to do that for others in a much more authentic way, in a much more real way. I love this deck, and especially for me, because I'm always in the process, but I was much more back then in the process of accepting the feminine inside of myself, because I came from a reality of competing with men, having to protect myself from men, or all this kind of feelings that didn't serve me well. Thank God I was able to heal that, and I'm still in the process, but she helped me a lot. This beauty here, I love this deck. I love her, and I'm glad to say that she was the first one. Very glad. This one here now, I'm not sure if it's out of print. Maybe not, I'm not sure. It is the Fairy Guidance Oracle by Paulina Cassidy, now Paulina Faye. I bought this oracle just because I do enjoy Paulina Cassidy artwork a lot, so you do have a kind of thick guidebook going on here. And you know, for those of you that have children maybe that would like to have an oracle, I think it would be interesting to think about it, about this one. This is the back. It's spring, isn't it? It's spring, yeah. And then it's so soft. It's so loving, like it's huge. For example, spirit. Spirit is a flow of insight into the true self. So it's more like affirmations. It's more like affirmations. Inspiration. Be open to a world of endless possibilities. Beauty. Beauty is unveiled by the lustrous light within. So they are affirmations. And I would get this deck all cute, but sometimes you look and you think, oh, it's more like almost naive, you know, like maybe for teenagers, stuff like that. And I do think that it's wonderful for teenagers. But truth is that this oracle deck is wonderful with other Paulina's tarot decks. So I just showed you on my tarot video for spring. Oh, I showed you the Joie de Vivre that I love. And man, I started working with them together, even with the Paulina Tarot, that for me is a fall deck. This deck works beautifully. Of course, the same artist, but it is a great deck. And again, if you have kids, if you have a teenager, if you have children, I think it can be interesting to have, if they show some interest in going ahead and playing with their decks, because I feel like not all decks are suitable for kids. Some of them maybe are not that great for kids, but this one is very nice. So the next one that I'm going to show is one that actually how to say, for me it's actually not totally my cup of tea, but I see that it's very popular, so maybe you have this deck. It is Rebecca Campbell's The Rose Pocket Oracle. Mine is a pocket one. So what happened is that I borrowed one of her books in the library here. I started reading. I didn't finish, but I started reading, and I really liked that book. It was a nice book. Then I said, oh, no, I'm going to buy one of her decks. And then I did my research, and I wanted a pocket oracle, and I bought this one. But I bought this one because she's talking about the goddess as well. But I'm not sure if it was a good idea, because I think that maybe this deck needs, I don't know, maybe it needs to be bigger because of the artwork. I don't know. So you do have a chunky book here. I think almost everything there was in the large guidebooks here, or everything. So what happens to this deck, it's published by Hay House. Hay House, I do like their cardstock as well. So it's matte, it's published by Hay House. The back, I think they are roses. But one thing that's complicated for me on these backs, that one day I was looking, and I saw a face here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. That I didn't like. I said, oh, it's an ugly face. Why would you do that? And you know, those kind of things, like when you see, you can't unsee. So I always see this face anyways. What I feel is that if this deck was in the regular size, I would enjoy more. I don't know, I think for this artwork, this small one's a little challenging. It's not a deck that I reach for. Personally, I don't know if it's because of the size again, but it may be nice to clarify tarot for people that are afraid of tarot, because you may know we have all kind of people working with us, or I do have all kind of people working with me. In general, people know I use my work, but even if they know, some people, they are a little afraid of tarot and so on. It's very loving. It's a very loving deck, and I do like the message. I don't use the guidebook, but I do like the message that they have here, and I do feel that it's a deck that is very, very suitable for spring. So it's by Rebecca Campbell, the Rose Pocket Oracle. I'm not saying that it's not beautiful, it is, but again, I think having this kind of deck in the regular size would be better. Now, this deck here, the Oracle of the Roses by Cheralyn Darcy. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And it is by Rockpool. Like, Rockpool is a publisher that is brand new for me. Now I have a few of their decks, but it was new for me. And I'm going to tell you, good job, Rockpool. I feel like they really were paying attention to what we say. Like, I think all the decks that I have by this company, borderless and gilded edges. Look at this. Look at this pink. Ah, gorgeous, gorgeous. The cardstock's very nice. I do like their cardstock. Very happy. Good job, Rockpool. Good job. So, this deck I bought, look at the back. It was an impulse buying, you know. I just saw an image of this deck. I don't even remember where. If it was on Instagram, some picture, and I was like, oh my god, I need the deck. I need the deck. And then I went ahead and I bought this deck. It was late in the night, and then I got it the next day. And this deck is about archetypes. So we have here the Pioneer. Interesting. Guys, I've never noticed it before. Let me see. Cards too. I've never noticed that before. They were just together. Both are the Pioneer. Am I crazy? What? Let me see here. 2. The Pioneer, yeah. 13. I don't know. The Pioneer. Adventure. Oh, but they're different. Interesting. For another adventure awaits, perhaps even. Huh. It's different. The text is different in the guidebook, but it's the same name. Interesting. Never noticed it before. Just now because they were together. So we do have what I was saying, archetypes. So the Pioneer again, and the Lover, the Artist. So we do have archetypes to work with this deck. The guidebook's very nice. So in the guidebook, you're going to have oracle meaning, ethnobotanical archetype exploration, botanical notes, plant energies like meanings and uses, deities, and astrological sign. It's very nice. But then I started looking at this deck, and one day I was like, why did I buy this deck? I love flowers. I love roses. I do. But I was like, why did I buy this deck? Then after a while, I realized, after a while, I don't know, I came to the realization that the reason why I bought this deck, why she had to come to my collection, because it's not my main archetypal oracle deck. I was not looking for an archetypal oracle deck. I bought solely for the artwork. This vintage stuff is beautiful. But you wanna know what? You wanna know what, my friend? It really reminds me of my mother. That's why she came to my collection. My mother, she used to love roses. I love roses, but she would plant them and she would be all proud of her roses. Like this, for example. And, you know, I do love tarot, oracle. I do love working with the cards, but I was not the first one in my family using them, working with them. I was born in a very spiritual family, so I was raised around spiritual tools and cards as well. And then my mom was the one studying tarot back then. I have her tarot here with me in the altar. And I was not interested in tarot back then. I was interested in people reading for me, but not learning, because I used to say, oh, 78 cards, oh, I'll never learn that, all that. Pure ignorance, but I think it's part of life. And sometimes I have been feeling, you know, like I know that it's not rational and stuff like that, but sometimes I feel even a little guilty, because I wish my mom was here now in this plane, so that I could buy nice decks for her. Now I could sit and talk to her about tarot. So for me, sometimes even hard working with the decks. And yes, I've been going through not only through some healing process about this, about the fact that I wish I would be interested and know, but back then I would not have access to all the decks that I have now living here and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, like I do have her decks here for you to have an idea. So it was all that she was able to get. She even went there and used some contact paper to make it a little stronger. It's paper. So these are the decks that she used to have and have access to. There was not many options back then there. Even now, I know that it's sometimes hard for people. And I wish she was here so we could talk about the cards. I would, for sure, I would give to her one Rider-Waite-Smith deck, right? Guys, girl, it is what it is, right? So now what I can do is offer to her part of my practice, be grateful to her, because it is a blessing. For me, it was a huge, I don't know, it's wonderful to be her daughter, because I had the opportunity to learn so much about spirituality since before I was born. And then everything around spirituality is so normal for me, so thanks to her. She was a woman ahead of her time, when nobody would be talking about coconut oil, or I think it's aloe vera or stuff like that. She was all into herbs, she was all into plants, she was a garden, like a master garden goddess. And anyways, and she was there, and she was an Aries, and she loved to learn. And then she would, I don't know, around 70 years old, she wanted to study English. She was studying English, learning how to use the computer. Can you imagine it? And sometimes we say, oh, I'm 30, it's too late for me. Oh, I'm 40, it's too late. What? She was 70. So if you are 30, if you are 40, if you are 50, if you are 80, It's never too late to learn something that you want to learn. It's never too late to share with people whatever you have there overflowing, you know, inside of you. There, you know, that flame, that passion. It's never too late to expand. Think that each hour we have here, each minute, we should take advantage of that. And understand that it's never too late. The same way that maybe it's never too early as well, right? No. To learn about something, to grow. Anyways. So one deck that I do feel like it is spring time deck is Sacred Earth Oracle by Toni, Carmine, Salerno, Leela J. Williams, and artwork by Elena Nelson Reed. Another by Blue Angel, I think. Yeah. I don't use the guidebook. I only use the cards with this one, the back, and the cards. They are, let me do like this. See? They are spring. This deck, I like to use this deck like to give me a general idea of the energy in a reading, in a session. And I do like to look at the images a lot. As I told you, for me it's important to sit, just look at the images and think, oh, what does that mean? How do I feel when I see this image? Because so many things come to the surface when we allow ourselves to do that. Because when you talk about ego in Kabbalah, it's different from what is ego for, I don't know, for Jungian perspective, for example. So we talk about ego like being that part of ourselves that is going to challenge us and not allowing us to share our light or to grow and stuff like that. So what I strongly feel is that the artwork, these cards, they allow us to make that part of us shut up a little bit, and then we can reach to our soul, our essence. And I feel that this deck does that beautifully. It's a deck that I like a lot. As I told you, I don't use the guidebook, but the deck itself is beautiful. So it is the Sacred Earth Oracle, artwork by Elena Nelson Reed, and the decks by Toni, Salerno, and Lena Williams. And now to close our list, the Oracle of the Mermaids by our Lucy Cavendish. So this deck is by Blue Angel as well. And I'm going to tell you, I had a lot of connection with angels and mermaids back then, when I was in my, I think, 20s, teenager 20s. I used to love mermaids and angels, so that's why I wanted to have this deck. It is an energy that I feel strongly connected still, because probably the first goddess I worked with when I was a kid was what we call her Iemanjá. I don't know if in English how you guys know her for, I think, Iemoja. I don't know Iemoja, but we would say Iemanjá. And she was the queen of the sea, and a mermaid as well. One way to look at her. And I always loved mermaids. And I think I told you already, I told you in the tarot video that I have been feeling the call to work with the element of water lately. A lot. Ancestors and water. I wish we had an ocean here to go. Well, we do have huge lakes, right? We are here just with the lake looking at us, which is great. I like to go there, and it works. It works as well. But I have been missing going to to the beach and enjoying a little bit. This deck has light and shadow, but in general, I do feel that it suits spring beautifully as well. And it is a deck that can do almost everything. I don't usually use this deck to clarify tarot, but as I told you, it does shadow work very well for daily draws. I think it's very nice to give a general idea of the energy. It's nice. The thing that happens here that I'm not a huge fan is that we do have different kinds of artwork here. I do like this. This image is in the cover, in the box. Let me see. So there's some things, I don't know, that I feel that are different. That's a little challenging for me, but in general, I do like it. Yemaya, Yemanja. This one I was talking about. Grandmother Ocean, Primordial. And we do have here Honor the Masculine, which I think that is always important. It's great. It's a great deck, actually. I'm glad that I have her in my collection. She's not going anywhere anytime soon. Really like this deck. So, looking forward, as always, to learn about the decks that you're going to be using this spring. If you have some of these decks, let me know what you think about them. And I'm looking forward to learn more about what you are doing, your practice, and so on. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's so important for me. I'm so happy for having the opportunity to be here sharing with you. It's an honor. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. See you in the next video. Lots of love for you. Have an amazing day, an amazing week. See you soon.